My name's Eron Sheean. My film is called Do No Harm. It's a short film, and originally I'm from Australia, but I'm living in near Amsterdam in the Netherlands. The backstory of this short is that it started as a feature film, actually, and I wrote a feature with my co-writer, whose name is Paul Bromley. We decided to take a sequence out of the feature script and try to basically condense everything into a short film version of a sequence in the feature. And we altered it a little bit to make it, work on its own 2 feet as a short film. Because it's sort of taken from a feature film, there's a lot of backstory to do with these characters and to do with the setting that it's set on around this community of the people that live on narrowboats in London. I tried to feed the actors a lot of backstory and information about the characters in the feature film, and then to see how much they could kind of absorb that and let that sort of come through on screen with basically no dialogue and just implied looks, and see how much stuff could kind of permeate out of the film. So there's a whole sort of history with her and this patient of hers, and in the short it's very much sort of stuff that's happened off camera. It's all implied. Yeah, I mean, she was terrific. I mean, really, she even went to the trouble of reading the feature script, and she was able to sort of channel that into something that's a fairly simple story and within the short. But there's a lot of complexity behind that to do with, she's actually kind of the bad guy in the story, which is why you see her basically dumping the body and not calling the police. And it suggested there's something a bit more insidious going on with her and this patient. Yeah, she was just fantastic and really could express a lot just with her body language and with just with her face. And as I said, there's basically no dialogue, so it's all about trying to get the audience to feel things through her perspective, because it's pretty much plays from her point of view. She was game for anything. It doesn't matter. I mean, all the rain in the film is pretty much real, most of it. And then we were shooting in winter at night on a boat in the water, so it's not an easy situation to be in especially for actors. When you're on water in a very small boat, it was a real boat, obviously, so you have the problem of the crew trying to move around each other. So we had another small boat, like a camera boat, or to get us back and forth on some shots where the boat was isolated. And then we had the boat was, of course, sometimes moored at this little pier, so we could access it more easily. But particularly with the shorts, I'm very interested in trying to take short films out of this sort of domestic setting of being in a house or this constricted setting. And I really like to make the landscape or the environment a real character in the story. So it makes things more difficult, but of course the production value, it grows a lot, and it also just makes it a really more tactile experience, I think, to put the story in a unique or a different type of environment. Because I have a background in special effects, makeup, and practical things, so I built this puppet with some other guys that I work with, of the guy who's resurrected. And when you see him going through the water, sinking into the water, it's basically a head on a pole, a fake head that's being going down into the water like this. And so there's lots of little things I built as well to try to raise the tension, essentially, by intercutting things. Like I had to make parts of the boat that didn't exist and shoot them in my backyard, like when she's accelerating the boat or dropping the anchor. And the puppet was shot on a different location in some water. I mean, the good thing about the Netherlands is no shortage of water and rain, so if you want that as part of your atmosphere, it's perfect. I was just scouring sort of casting websites, and he wasn't even in a casting agency, but he had some image of him and thought he had an interesting look, and met him. And then he's a very sweet guy, a very gentle, big, sweet guy, but I think he really relished playing something that was sinister, but also a bit otherworldly. I mean, the whole conversation with him is that he deliberately wants to torment her, in the sense that it's not about him necessarily going there to hurt her, but he's going there to show that it's like a nightmare for her that'll never stop. So the fact that he lets himself be killed, lets himself be dumped in the river, in the full knowledge that he'll just keep coming back. So there's a kind of a little, he plays it, if you notice, if you watch it a second time, maybe it's more obvious, but he plays it with a slight, very, very subtle, sly sense of humor, where it's all like a kind of pantomime, like I'm going to play dead, and all of this, and just messing with her in very subtle ways, Um, so yeah, he's terrific. I mean, it's such a, when you have two great actors that are unafraid of getting their clothes off in the rain, in the middle of winter, and they don't mind being covered in fake blood and prosthetics. And I mean, this is, I think they have a lot of fun as well. There's some VFX, not heavy amount, quite a bit of practical effects, like the prosthetics and fake limbs, and yeah, like the guy when he comes back is a puppet. But there's obviously some digital stuff to do with some resurrection of things growing back. But what we tried to do is work with filming elements to be composited. So when she finds him in the reeds with the torch, you see he sort of blinks, reacts to the light. So that's an animatronic puppet, but the eyes are my wife's eyes. And I just basically, I didn't do it, a DJ friend, he composited the eyes onto the puppet. So it just brings, like, blending these elements in, but using the computer to blend real elements. I think it's always a really nice way to use CGI, especially if you can't get to the standard that I would like to get, digitally, that you always get great results if you have a good compositor and someone who's a great artist who can take these real elements and composite them. Like there's a bit you see when all the blood is sort of dissolving into mud and sucking back into the mud. He's sort of breaking down into his essential elements before reforming again. But again, these are just like little elements I filmed of reverse photography of the blood traveling into the mud, and then we would composite them into the real footage. So yeah, I'm a big believer in that, in creating real elements that you can then put into the film, but using digital effect or compositing to make it work. It's one thing when you know something, but you have to go through it to really know it. And that's like shooting on boats, on the water. I mean, it's very true. Everything slows down immensely. Like it's just complicated. And my thing is with this feature version of this story, which is about a vigilante nurse who's putting patients into permanent comas. She decides that she's like, plays a kind of evil Mother Teresa, you could say. And the victims start to come back. That's why this guy is someone who was meant to be brain damaged, basically in a permanent coma. So when he turns up on the boat, it's completely unexpected. It's impossible, basically. But in the feature, they start to come back for many reasons that I won't go into now. It's too long. But it's just the knowledge of, like, you have to factor this in, that in the next, if this turns into the feature that we hope, that we have to think about how we shoot on a boat. When do we do it as a set? How do we try to do it? Some things in a studio. How do we do it on location? And but I love doing stuff on location because I think it just captures something that's really almost impossible to capture outside of a real place. There's just something that gets into the film that's a bit undescribable, but it's just some characteristic of filmmaking where I still like that things are a little bit more difficult and a bit more, kind of textured by the real world.